Well, the overview is that we have a disciplinary code. It's in our handbook, and that's what I was given when I first came here. It's a little archaic, to be honest, and I'm in the same boat as many principals. Is that you you want to address behaviors proactively, um, and the research tends to indicate that we really should be focusing on the social emotional needs of students as a prerequisite towards simple discipline forms. So you'll note that we use the carbon copy discipline forms, which are, I think, have been here since 10 years at least, I'm sure.
They've been around for a while.
And uh, what we try to do is calibrate expectations about when you would need to use them as a teacher, and come to a general understanding. The switch I've tried to make, along with my assistant principal, Scott, is that we're trying to focus this on the students now so that they take responsibility for their behavior. You'll notice that we created, or they have created rather, a document called Greyhound Gotta Haves. We're putting student council to the forefront, and we're trying to recognize what is it that we need, that we must have. And one of them is pride, patience, this kind of thing, so that we want the students to become self-regulatory. Are we using a system such as assertive discipline or BPIS? No, we're not. We're using elements of all of them.
Yep.
I think some of it we use elements of responsive classroom, the Harry Wong piece. Some teachers are very adept at that and reinforcing rules and procedures. Our first line of defense are always teachers. How you manage your classroom is directly indicative of motivation in general through the school. So I'm happy to say we have a good staff who are fairly skilled when it comes to this. But what we're moving towards is making this student-centered. We want to see that you have the possibility of making decisions, good decisions, and making yourself accountable for your actions. Because ultimately, you want to self-regulate. That's where we want to not prepare you just for high school, but for life. Developmentally, some of the discussions we've had is that we would like to move towards a restorative justice model, because that's where students not only have to examine their own behavior, but they are taking action steps to make restitution, to fix it. And it could be as simple as, I genuinely apologize for my behavior, you make eye contact. In other words, you're socially interacting in a normal, under a social contract. A lot of kids don't have that, and I see this as a result of many different factors, some of which are connected with generational influences. These are really the students of the Gen Xers, I would say, the millennials. And what we're seeing is that a lot of, and this is, I don't want to make generalizations because there are certainly wonderful, caring parents who do a great job making their kids accountable. But what we have very often are students who question authority. I think that's great. But I always would add, I'm quick to say, but please supply an answer. It's great to have a question. Anybody can have a question. But be prepared to interact and do it reasonably and in a way that is respectful, and you will get so much further. So that's really the basis of where we're going. When I first arrived at this school, I was led to understand that there were significant behavioral issues. I believe that to be the truth.
Has the communication with the parents gotten better over time, do you think, in our school district?
I do. I think parents, we've been able to be very clear about what is a logical consequence. And to be honest, I'll have parents who will fight it, who won't agree with it, and I can point to our handbook and say, here's what happened because this happened. And that part is no longer up for discussion. Of course, we want to afford all students due process, and it can be an exhausting process in itself, but communicating with parents is huge.
Yeah. Tell me some personal thoughts on your specific room, the schools in general, behavioral, classroom management system. Is there anything specific that you like about it, things that you don't like about it?
I'll talk about my classroom behavior. I start off with general expectations that in 8th grade we should be able to work out what's happening. If there's an issue between me and a student, it's not just their problem. Somehow we've got to communicate what works for this student and what works for me. Maybe I'm doing something like using Mr. Smith and they just want to be called Josh. So it is something that simple. I lay my classroom rules out very clearly begin the year of my expectations. I'm talking, you need to listen. Other students talking, they have the floor, you'll have your time to talk later. I will give, beginning of the year, like 3 warnings of behavior issues. After that, I will ask the student to step outside in the hall and we will have a quick talk during class period. We do have a procedure here that's called second step, where this time of the year, we're halfway through, students not following the rules, they are sent to another teacher's room to sit. They automatically get a detention from me the first time around. At least if once a student is sent out, the rest of the kids kind of start toeing the line if there has been other behavior issues. It removes that person who is stopping me from teaching and other students from learning.
Do you ever contact, what's your procedure for parenting? Like maybe your discussions that you have with parents, do you inform parents if there's like things are going well, when a student's doing well, or is it normally just on the negative for
side.
yourself?
If I'm having concerns about a student, first of all, I have a conference with the student, I have a detention after school with the student, try to talk, work out our issues. If it goes any farther, I will contact the parent. I think in 8th grade, they should be able to figure out what's not going right and how to change it. If it isn't working, then I contact the parent. I don't like to, but I will. And if need be, I will ask for a parent conference, which I have done. Most likely, if I'm having these issues, so are other teachers. So it's not just a conference with me. I'll bring other teachers
You
involved.
include all of them. Good.
If a student had problems and all of a sudden they're doing really well, I will email parents of going, okay, they seem to be on the right track. So it's not just
Positive
if they're
reinforcement.
yes, or student has been struggling, I will also email.
At our school, I think we use several behavior approaches. One of them, positive interventions in the classroom. Some of us were trained to use an approach where we'd look at the behavior and break it down to the lagging skills, the skills that the kids were lacking that were causing them to have the behavior. And then we'd go back and teach them the skill, basically, long story short. So that's a good way to look at it, so that they're not just getting in trouble over and over and over, that somehow they haven't learned how to say sorry, or they haven't learned how to use their words. We teach them how to do that. Another one that our assistant principal introduced to the school that a lot of us are using is the restorative approach. One example would be suspensions. They don't just come back in and serve the suspension and then go right into the classroom. They go back to their teachers or the classmates, whatever happened, and restore the relationship. And that works nice. The students have to buy into that. And I see it working about 50% right now. We've got some tough cases where they're truly not buying in. They think it's silly, but I think it will take some time. Also with the restorative approach is to have the students buy in to celebrating and catching students doing good things, like our Greyhound got a halves with pride, and citizenship and things like that, that's front loading it, and that will be a good thing for our student population. And in the guidance office, I use a lot of mood regulation with cognitive behavior therapy, where kids pretty much said, "My bad, this is what I did, this is how I felt at the time, and this is what I should do next time." So they learn to pause when they feel like acting out because they feel bad or angry or sad, and they pause and they think about what they want to do, skip that, do what they should do, and then process it with someone. And that helps them to regulate their mood, which is great with teenagers because they're so impulsive. And in the office, mostly what I use is strength-based approach, where we talk about what's going on with them, talk about what their strengths are, and how they can use their strengths to improve situations.
I think overall our entire school has a very solid concept on classroom management, from the teachers all the way up to our principals. In general, each classroom teacher tries to take care of what's going on in their own personal classroom. If something's going on, they may ask a student to leave, and then they talk to them in the hallway. They don't just kick them out and let them sit in the hallway. Things are tried to be discussed, and to get them back in the classroom and learning, so that they are not disrupting themselves or any of their classmates. The principals are there for the harder cases, to take care of, work with them, try and figure out what's going on. Parents are contacted and pulled in for any situations that might be happening in the school. The parents are always communicated with on a daily basis in our emailed home every single day. Any information is passed on quickly to them. There are phone calls that are made every single day, and in general, there's never a time when a parent comes in and is surprised of something that's happened. We have, for detentions, there are slips that go home. The kids are told ahead of time when they have to serve a detention, if there is one. On my personal end, when I'm teaching with a kid that is struggling, I try and calm them down before a situation even arises. I think a lot of us, when we take a look at our classroom, we see students who are in need of a break, getting ready to explode, and trying to take care of it before it happens. I really think a lot has to do with making sure that as a teacher we take true control of our classroom and help those students stay focused as long as possible and take care of themselves and let their classmates learn.